I'm Professor Yoda Kahana. The topic for today will be the environmental risks and the financial sector. And we usually say that the past is history, the future is mystery, and the present is a present. However, due to the risks, the environmental risks, I believe that unless we do something really drastic, at present, we won't have a future. The last 4 decades were the most amazing decades for mankind. And during that period, there were big changes that took place. Many countries moved from the agrarian world into an industrial and post-industrial world. And this caused tremendous changes in our life. What happens during this industrialization process? During that period, there were dramatic changes, mainly in the population and in the technologies that we use. The population has increased dramatically. We started the 20th century with about 1.4 billion people, and we ended the century, the 20th century, with about 6.5 billion people, 5 times growth. This is unprecedented in human history. In addition to the population growth, we have a change in consumerism. Because in agrarian world, we consume mainly agrarian products, and which are recyclable. So in such a world, you don't create much trash, you don't have much waste. However, today, in an industrial society, we consume much more. The composition of the consumption is very different. Within about 6 months, we take about 90% and more, some people say even 99% of all the resources are turning into waste. During the process, during the shipping, during the handling of the packaging, during the recycling and whatever, it turns into waste, into pollution, air pollution, water pollution, ground pollution. So this is a very alarming process. So the question is whether we are going to face a destruction. I'm very optimistic, by the way, because I think that there are ways to go about it. So the question is not only whether to be or not to be, which is the threat that we are facing, but also how to be. Should we control the population growth? Very difficult to do it. We can't stop the process which is already going. And should we constrain the consumption growth? Well, if we try that and each of us will decrease the consumption growth by 1%, we shall face in no time a very deep economic recession that 2008 is incomparable to it. So we have to find ways how to reduce our footprint. And one approach is to use eco-efficiency. That means to use only renewable energies and to save a lot of water and other resources. So now we come to the real problem. The failure of the system deals mainly with what we call our common property. The common property are all the things that we have, that we share together, all mankind. You know, it's air, water, forests, landscape. They are not priced properly. Price of water reflects the cost of pumping and transferring and transporting the water. It doesn't show the real value of water. Air is not being priced. And in the first class of economics, we learn that the value of things is being measured by its price. I once had a big argument with a close colleague and friend, Professor Milton Friedman, that passed away a few years ago, a Nobel Prize laureate. And he said the purpose of business is business. So business should strive for maximization of profit, and the invisible hand will take care of the rest. But it doesn't, because it does not necessarily increases the welfare of people, the society, or the environment. The only way is to change the way that we are doing business, is by considering not only the economy, but also to bring into consideration the society and the environment. So it is C, the initial C. The current focus in modern economies is me. We put ourselves in the center, and it's wrong. We have to change it. We have to reverse it. This triggers the concept of sustainability, which is now prevailing for a decade or so in the world. Sustainability is the way to manage the common property in such a way that we do not leave footprints. In other words, that we leave to the next generation more or less the same resources. So no footprint. However, we should strive for something more developed. We should go beyond sustainability. Beyond sustainability means not to leave no footprint, but to leave a positive footprint, as exemplified by this slide. We should strive for something beyond sustainability, and this is the strategic issue now, how to increase it. Then we come back to the economic question. Does it pay? Yes, it does, because being more environmental and thinking in beyond sustainability way of thinking, we find out that we can increase our income, the revenue, we can decrease our costs, all costs, raw materials, labor costs, whatever. We affect the risks, we ease our approach to the capital markets, we attract investors, we affect our environment, and affect the firm's value at the same time, positively affect the firm's value. Our accounting systems are still incapable to measure the fine effects that I describe here. But we can see them already working. What does it mean for the business? To try and leave a positive footprint. So use only safe materials. Every year we manufacture new materials, we invent new materials. Some of them are very expensive to develop and to make sure that they don't harm us. We have to reuse all the materials that are wasted in the process. We have to be able to recycle the product at the end of the process. We must change the design. We need a new generation of designers. We need a new generation of executives. We need a new generation of engineers to do all this. It can be done. It doesn't have to happen at one step. It could be done gradually. We are allowed to make mistakes during the process, and we do mistakes during the process. But we should start. So now we come to the concluding part. All this was an introduction to why we should do things differently. But the question is, how can the financial sector influence the process? The financial sector is not only affected by the environmental risk, but it could have a fantastic and very important effect on and influence on our environment. As a financial sector, as a big investor. Several years ago, a group of leading financial institutions and a few insurance companies included, signed a voluntary treaty which is called the Equator Principle. This treaty said that we are not going to lend money to organizations that are not environmental, that are harming our environment. So why would these organizations care about it? I'll give you an example. We had a case in Israel just recently where a chemical industry went under. And they left behind polluted premises and people that were affected, workers that were injured with no coverage. They had 3 major creditors, 3 of the major banks. And the banks got a verdict against them. The court decided that they should participate in cleaning the pollution. They should take part of the cost of cleanup. They said, how come? We are the creditors. We lost all our money. All the money that we lent got lost. We didn't get it back. So why should we pay also for the cleanup? They said, because you were negligent by giving loans to a company that didn't keep standards. Okay? So this is a very important precedent. It can happen in any other country as well. Okay? So this is a strong interest to go fast about it and to join this process. Really, the main purpose of this presentation, the main motivation was a personal one, because I don't want to be asked by my grandchildren, "Grandpapa, where were you in 2011? What did you do to save our world?" I thank you very much for the attention.